All right, guys, welcome back to the garage. Now, for all the Mopar guys that have been following along, let's get a little update on the Charger real quick. All right, here in Indiana, winter has definitely been showing itself, so the Charger's been hanging out. But basically what I'm waiting on is a steering wheel cover. Now, it's not just a cover, it has to be stitched on, and it's from Redline Goods. And for all the guys that followed along with the paddle shifter install, you'll know this is the second rendition of it. Originally, I had the paddles placed way out there on the ends, and I didn't like the placement, so bought a new wheel. This is an SRT8 wheel, and relocated the paddles inboard here. But the wheel leather is a little rough. So I talked to guys at Redline Goods, and they make a whole cover where you cut the stitching, remove the factory leather, and we'll stitch on a whole new leather cover. And you have to wait and see what color combos I went with and material combos I went with, but I'm pretty pumped for it to get here. So we're just waiting on that. After that, this is going to get fixed. I'm going to buy a new seat bottom, and we're going to replace that seat bottom cover, which I've never done, so it should be interesting. And once we get that done, the interior will be in great shape otherwise, except for the headliner. So the whole headliner is going to come down. We're going to do a complete color change, all to black from the pillars up. So we'll wrap the headliner, color change all the plastics to black, and then the interior will pretty much be done for now. But that's where we're at for the Charger. So far, it's been mostly cosmetic stuff. Just trying to get it decent. It's a $5,000 car, but it's coming along. But for today's project, the Subaru. Now, in the last video, we put SJ struts on the front and rear of this. And while I was in there, I noticed the front control arms, the rubber was tearing on the bushings, the inner bushings there. So that's today's project. All right, so you can see right there, that bushing is trash. That's the reason I'm changing out the arms. Now you could pull these, replace just the bushing if you wanted to, even that one. But I got a set for super cheap. Let me show you what I got. All right, here's the arms. I got these for a whopping 30 bucks shipped off of eBay. Reason is they're a scratch and dent special because of that. So they were sold as damaged new parts. I think there's a little bit of, but I mean, 30 bucks, brand new, with just some scratches, why not? Now with most of these no-name parts, they all probably come from the same place. They're cheap. I mean, brand new ones that aren't damaged, you probably get for 60 bucks, the whole set with ball joints. And you know, these are cheapy ball joints, so we'll rock them for now. Worst comes to worst, when I pull the stock ones out, I'm going to hang on to them. And if these new ones start making noise, I'll just replace the bushings in my OEM arms, get some better ball joints, and throw those in. But they should work for now. All right, as far as removing these lower control arms, most all Subarus are the same setup. They got back there, that's a 17 millimeter nut and bolt. That's a 19 millimeter nut. And then you got your pinch bolt for the ball joint, which is 14. Almost all Subarus share the same design as far as front control arms. So removal and replacement, even though this is on a 09 to 13 Forester, it will translate across all models pretty much. All right, just a little disclaimer before we get started. If your suspension is rusty, there's a good chance two things are going to happen. One, that pinch bolt for the lower ball joint can break, and then you're stuck drilling it out and doing all that nonsense. If the bolt comes out nice, there's a good chance that ball joint's going to be stuck in the spindle. It won't want to remove. So it might take some work to get it out. I've seen special sockets that will actually thread onto the threads of the ball joint, and then it pulls the ball joint out. So it might be something to look into. If you're preparing to do this job, do yourself a favor, take a peek under your car, see how rusty things are. Because if that spindle and that ball joint is rusty, it's not going to be an easy time. Just a warning before you watch this, it may not go as smoothly as you want it to, but let's get started. All right, first thing we're going to do is remove that pinch bolt for the ball joint. Next, we're going to do the sway bar end link. Now, if you don't have both sides of the car jacked up, there will be pressure on this, so it's a good idea to have the car, both front wheels off the ground. That way there's no tension. Now, obviously, the ball joint is spinning in there, and that sway bar link. So we're just going to clamp it to hold the stud and get the nut the rest of the way up. Now the stud does have a provision for an Allen where you could hold the stud and then remove the nut. A lot of times that Allen will strip out and then you ended up clamping on the stud anyway, so that's why I just did it that way. All right, next thing I'm gonna do is that inner forward control arm bolt. Finish removing this 17mm bolt. There we go. And then we'll do this 19. Then you have to remove this bracket, which is also two 19s. And then once that bracket's off, we can swing the arm down off the stud and pull it out. Okay, now we're gonna do the lower ball joint nut. You need to pull the cotter pin and then pull the nut off. And then that nut's a 19 also. Okay, you saw I'd use my special tool to get that lower ball joint separated. If you've never used one of these, they're awesome for that. Okay, here's where I'm at. I just got this long punch in here to separate this pinch, and I got it loose. So I'm just gonna work it until it pops out. Oh, there we go. You see how rusty that is? So you can see how easily this can get seized in there from rust. But I got pretty lucky. All I had to do was separate the pinch and it came out. Where we're gonna do this is we're gonna go ahead and install this ball joint in the control arm. That way we can put it all up in one unit. For next time, put a little anti-seize on there. And we'll also put some on the ball joint, just in case this has to come apart again. Throw our nut on. Okay, before I throw that in there, I'm going to wire brush this inside of here. And we'll put a little anti-seize on this ball joint. Okay, I got a little anti-seize on that ball joint, just for next time. We'll go ahead and throw this up there, throw this bolt in, and probably throw the nut on this stud just for now, just to hold it, so we can get the ball joint in. All right, it seemed to work better if I slid that ball joint in first and then worked that bushing in and that bushing. It needed a little persuasion, obviously, because that bushing's pretty tight and the ball joint's tight. Doesn't want to really flex, which is good. So seat the ball joint into the knuckle first, and you can thread the bolt in just to hold it there. I use the hammer just to get it up over that stud. Now you don't want to tighten these yet till we get a load on the suspension, and then we'll torque these two down. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that bolt, tighten the sway bar link, and do a final tighten on the lower ball joint nut, put a cotter pin back in. We'll put a load on the suspension and torque those two down. Now obviously before you tighten this ball joint bolt, make sure that ball joint's seated all the way in the knuckle. Now it pretty much has to be for that bolt to go through, because you can see on this ball joint, the bolt sits right in this groove. So it pretty much has to be seated to get the bolt through. We'll fit our bracket back up there so we can get the nut on that stud. We're just going to snug this one down for now. Now I'm going to tighten this down until I get a clear shot of that hole for the cotter pin. And I raided my stash. I got a fresh cotter pin to go in there. All right, there we go. We got everything buttoned up except for that one bolt back there. I don't think it matters if it's under a load or not to torque that one because it's not twisting. Let's get the wheels back on and we'll get this under a load and crawl under and torque that bolt. All right, well, that will do it for the front control arm swap. Now I can already hear the rust belt guys yelling at me. I got lucky, no rust in the suspension, so those ball joints came right out. But like I said, if you got rust and your knuckle's rusty, there's a good chance that ball joint's gonna be seized in there. It might put up more of a fight than what it did for me. Working on this thing is giving me some motivation to switch up the look a little bit. So you might see some more of this on the channel in coming videos. But thanks for watching. Thanks for all the subscribers. Hit that like, share the videos with your buddies, and I'll see you on the next one.